Hi everyone, welcome back in this video where we are going to create this amazing button, but it's not a normal button because we are adding this. And this is called the ripple effect animation, but also we are going to add this when we click on the button, it gets a little bit pushed down, which gives it an appealing look. So if you want to learn how to create this button, stick with me till the end of this video. Alright guys, here we are in our Visual Studio Code and I wrote some simple code. This is a function I called my custom button function. It's a reusable function. This is the core element of our button. So this is the name and this is the name prop, so we can be able to accept the name and return it through this line or via this line. And we are exporting the function so to make it usable. And here it is. We are using it here in our app.js and we are importing it to make it work. I already created my custom button CSS and you should import it here in my custom button.js. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to style the button, then I'm going to come back and then explain what I just did. So here is our styling, very simple. The background, I added it first. I used the linear gradient function in CSS and I make it gradient to look even cooler. And also you can add your own color wherever you like. The width is 150 pixel, it's optional. The text align is centered, the padding 16 pixel. I added some space at the top, at the left, at the bottom, but also at the right. The border radius, I make to make these edges rounded, which makes look the button much cooler. Of course, the color of the text is white. The font size, I made it to 20 pixel, and of course the shadow. So right now we are going to go back to our code, my custom button.js, and we are going to start coding the logic of this ripple effect animation. And I'm going to stop and I'm going to explain each line of code. So here in our code, the first thing that I added is the on-click event listener. And when I click on this button, this function handle click fires up. And also I added the button ref, which accepts the use ref hook. And I added here in the div element that represents the whole button. So the idea here, we need to access to the button into the DOM because that's going to help us to get the position of the button and also to get the position of the click. But right now we are going to create this ripple effect. So let's start creating this ripple. So what I just did, I created this rounded circle, this element, and with I added the span tag with this element. Also, you can do it with div. I can choose wherever you want. Also, I added the class name called ripple effect. You can also call it wherever you want. And into the CSS file, and here is the styling of it. The width is 60 pixel. Also the height. The background is white. Also the border radius is 50% to make it rounded like this. and I made the position absolute to make it freely available inside the button. And of course, the position of the my button div need to be relative. So the ripple or the rounded circle stays within the button. So I'm gonna continue coding and I'm gonna add a bunch of code here inside the handle click function, and I'm gonna come back as always to explain each line. So now you can see something strange here. We have this DOM rect in the console log. And what that is when I clicked on the button, I get this object. So I'm going to do it again. And as you can see, at first, let's show you how we get this because of this function, get bounding client rect. So this object represents the button inside the DOM. So what we want here is our two elements, the left and the top. And we are going to use this so we can be able to create this, what I'm going to say. When I click on here, I want this ripple or this circle to follow my click. And the same if I do this here, and the same if I do this here. And that's what I'm going to continue doing. So I'm going to close this and get back to our code and write some line of codes, and I'm going to explain. So in our console log, as you can see, we have two new elements. We have this, which represents the left, and this represents the top. So I already clicked on the button and we got those things. So I'm going to do it again and again. And the reason why we got those two elements is because, let's close that up, is because this gets bound in client rect. And here, this line means that we are getting the left and the top properties from this button rect. And this is called destructing. And also, I'm using the event object to get the client X for the left position minus the left, which is this. And the same thing I did for the top position. I used the client Y property of the event object minus top. So when we log those two variables, we get those elements in our console. I apologize for that. I have kind of slow PC. Never mind. So let's close that up again. So I'm gonna remove this line. So what we are going to do, I'm going to use those variables in order to move the circle when I click on the button. So in order to do so, I'm going to use the useref hook as we did in the button. And I'm gonna start typing again. I'm going to explain after. As you can see, our logic is working. So when I click here, the circle follows. When I click here, the circle follows as well. And that's because of those two lines. But before that, I created this ripple ref constant that accepts the use ref. And also, in order to access to the circle into the DOM, I added it here inside the span. And we are controlling the left and the top by using these style properties, which are the CSS styling, and we are using JavaScript to control that through it. So that's why we didn't add the top and the left here in my button selector directly. So we did this to control the position of the circle when we click on the button. And that's what we did. So the next step and the final step is to creating the animation, and that's what I'm going to do. As you can see, this is our animation, and what I did is I added into the ripple effect selector the animation line with the animation property ripple effect, which is this, and it starts with the opacity of zero point 0.5. The scale is 0, and then at the end of the effect, the opacity goes to 0 and the scale is 20%, which creates this animation. And the whole animation it's going to be zero point 0.9 second long with ease and infinite. That's why we are getting this infinite loop of this animation. So right now I need to stop this. I need to make this animation occur when I just click. And in order to do so, first I'm gonna add this active. That's why I added it here to show you this active selector. And what I'm gonna do right now, I'm going to add this animation line here, and it's gonna be activate only when I add this active selector. And that's what I'm gonna do into JavaScript. As you can see, the animation stopped. So let's code again. This is our animation. As you can see, it's working completely fine. And because of those lines of code, I'm going to explain each one of them. So the first thing, I added the active selector that triggers this animation that we just explained. And after 600 milliseconds, this active selector gets removed. And that's because we don't have this infinite, we don't want to create this infinite loop of this animation. So here you have it. This is our functional button with this good looking animation, and you can add it in your projects if you want. So that's it for this video. If you liked it and if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button and hit thumbs up and leave a comment. Give me a feedback what need to be improved in those videos. So thank you for watching it, and I'll see you in the next one.